She was supposed to meet her sister at table 7. He was supposed to meet his carefully vetted blind date at the same table. But in the chaos of that crowded restaurant, with its dim lighting and endless rows of identical tables, Maya Chen slid into the wrong seat and changed both their lives forever. The moment their eyes met, she knew something was wrong. This man, with his perfectly tailored suit and the kind of watch that cost more than her yearly rent, was definitely not her sister Rachel. But before Maya could stammer an apology, the waiter appeared with champagne, and the man across from her, whose nameplate she couldn't quite see in the candlelight, gave her a look that was equal parts amused and curious. "I'm so sorry," Maya began, already pushing back her chair. "I thought this was—" "Stay." His voice was quiet but commanding. "Please," Maya froze. She should leave. She should find Rachel, who was probably panicking somewhere in this restaurant. But something in his dark eyes held her there, suspended between flight and an inexplicable pull to remain. "Just for a moment," he added, softer this time. "My actual date is apparently running late. Or perhaps," he glanced at his phone, "she's not coming at all." Maya bit her lip, weighing her options. She could see genuine loneliness beneath his polished exterior, something she recognized all too well. "Okay," she heard herself say, "just until she arrives." His name was Alexander James, though he didn't tell her that immediately. In fact, he didn't tell her much about himself at all. Instead, he asked about her, where she was from, what she did, what made her smile. Maya found herself talking about her work at the community center in Brooklyn, teaching art to kids who couldn't afford lessons. She told him about the little girl who'd painted her first sunset last week and cried because she didn't know she could create something beautiful. "You must think I'm boring," Maya said, suddenly self-conscious. Her thrift store dress felt shabby under the restaurant's crystal chandeliers. "I think," Alexander said slowly, "that you're the most interesting person I've met in years." 45 minutes passed. Then an hour. Alexander's date never showed. Rachel called twice, frantic, but Maya kept finding excuses to stay just 5 more minutes. They talked about everything: her childhood in Queens, his complicated relationship with his father, her dreams of opening her own art school someday, his confession that he'd forgotten what it felt like to have a conversation that wasn't about profit margins and stock prices. "What do you do?" Maya finally asked. Alexander hesitated. "I run a company." "What kind?" "The kind that takes up too much of my life." He smiled, but there was sadness in it. "I've spent so long building an empire that I forgot to build a life." Maya reached across the table without thinking, touching his hand briefly. "It's never too late." That's when his phone buzzed. Alexander glanced at it, and his expression shifted, not quite closing off, but becoming guarded. "I need to tell you something," he said. But before he could continue, a woman's sharp voice cut through the restaurant's ambient noise. "There you are!" A stunning blonde in a designer dress appeared at their table, her perfectly made-up face twisted in irritation. "Alexander, I've been looking everywhere. Your assistant gave me the wrong table number." "And who is this?" Maya stood immediately, nearly knocking over her water glass. "I'm nobody. I was just leaving." "Maya, wait!" Alexander reached for her, but the blonde's hand was already on his shoulder, possessive and territorial. "I should go," Maya said quickly, grabbing her purse. "Thank you for the conversation." She practically ran from the restaurant, her heart hammering. What had she been thinking? Men like that didn't end up with girls like her. This was real life, not a fairy tale. Rachel was waiting outside, arms crossed. "There you are. I've been at table 17 for over an hour. Where were you?" "Table 7, Maya said numbly. "Wrong table. Well, you missed meeting Chad. He seemed really nice, by the way. Left his number for you." Rachel studied her sister's face. "Maya, are you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." "I'm fine," Maya lied. "Just tired. Let's go home." But as they walked to the subway, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that she'd left something important behind in that restaurant. Something more significant than just an accidental encounter. 3 days later, Maya was teaching her Tuesday afternoon class when one of the community center's administrators knocked on her classroom door. "Maya, there's someone here to see you. Tell them I'm teaching." Maya began, but the words died in her throat. Alexander stood in the doorway, looking completely out of place in his business suit among the paint-splattered walls and children's artwork. The kids immediately stopped what they were doing, staring at this stranger who looked like he'd stepped out of a movie. "What are you doing here?" Maya whispered, acutely aware of 15 pairs of curious eyes watching them. "I've been looking for you for 3 days." Alexander stepped into the room, and Maya noticed he carried a folder. "You left before I could explain who I really am." "I know who you are," Maya said quietly. "Someone out of my league, Maya Chen, right?" One of her students, a precocious 10-year-old named Sophie, piped up. "Is this your boyfriend?" "He's fancy." The class erupted in giggles. Maya felt her face burn. "Sophie, hush. Class, keep working on your projects." She pulled Alexander into the hallway, arms crossed defensively. "You can't just show up at my work." "I know. I'm sorry. But you wouldn't answer my calls because you never gave me your number, and I needed to tell you something important." Alexander opened the folder. Inside were building plans, architectural drawings of a beautiful space with floor-to-ceiling windows and dedicated studio rooms. "This is 2247 3rd Avenue. It's been sitting empty for 2 years, part of a property portfolio my company owns. I want to give it to you." Maya blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" "For your art school. The one you told me about." Alexander's usual composure cracked slightly, revealing nervousness underneath. "Look, I know this seems crazy. We talked for one evening, but that conversation changed something in me, Maya. You reminded me why I started my company in the first place. Not to accumulate wealth, but to build something that matters. Something that helps people. I can't accept this," Maya said immediately. "It's too much." "I'm a stranger?" "You're not a stranger." Alexander looked at her intently. "In 2 hours, you understood me better than people I've known for years." "You saw me, Maya. Not my money or my title. Just me. Who are you exactly?" Maya asked. "You said you run a company, but you never said which one." "James and Associates." "We're a real estate development firm." Maya's eyes widened. She might not follow business news closely, but even she knew that name. James and Associates was one of the largest development companies in New York, which meant Alexander wasn't just wealthy. He was one of the wealthiest men in the city. "Oh my God," she breathed. "You're that Alexander James?" "Yes, and before you run away again, please listen." Alexander took a step closer. "That date, the one I was supposed to have that night, it was arranged by my board of directors. They think I need to settle down, present a better image for the company. They vetted her background, her education, her family connections. Everything was perfect on paper. And she never showed up. Or rather, she did, but by then I'd already met you. And suddenly I couldn't care less about what looked good on paper." He smiled ruefully. "When you left, I realized I'd spent the best evening I'd had in years with someone whose last name I barely knew. Someone who sat at the wrong table by mistake and stayed because she saw another human being who needed company." Maya's defenses were crumbling. "Alexander, I teach art to kids. I live in a studio apartment with my sister. My idea of a fancy night out is pizza that costs more than $12. We're from completely different worlds." "Maybe that's exactly what I need," Alexander said softly. "Someone from a different world. Someone who understands what actually matters." "Miss Maya?" Sophie's voice came from the doorway. The entire class had apparently abandoned their projects to eavesdrop. "Are you going to kiss him?" "Sophie!" Maya gasped, but she was laughing despite herself. Alexander grinned, then addressed the class. "Tell you what, kids. If Miss Maya agrees to have dinner with me at the right table this time, I'll donate enough art supplies to this center to last you all year." The children erupted in cheers and pleas. Maya shook her head, overwhelmed but unable to stop smiling. "That's bribery." "It's incentive. There's a difference." Alexander's expression turned serious again. "Maya, I'm not asking you to marry me. I'm not even asking you to trust me completely. I'm just asking for a chance. One real date. The right table. No mistakes this time." Maya looked into his eyes and saw something she recognized. Hope mixed with vulnerability. It was the same look she saw in her students' faces when they attempted something new and scary. the same look she saw in her own mirror every morning when she wondered if her dreams were too big, too impossible. "Okay," she said finally. "One date." The children cheered again. Alexander's smile was radiant, transforming his face from merely handsome to genuinely beautiful. "But," Maya added firmly, "I'm not taking that building. Not unless I earn it somehow. Deal?" "What if I told you the building needs an artistic vision? Someone to help me transform it into something meaningful?" Alexander extended his hand. "I need a consultant for a community project." "And you need space for your school. Call it a mutually beneficial arrangement." Maya studied his outstretched hand. She thought about all the rom-coms she'd watched, all the stories where the wrong turn led to the right destination. She thought about Sophie and the other kids, and how many more children could benefit from a real art school with proper resources. But mostly, she thought about that conversation at Table 7, and how sometimes the best things in life happened when you ended up exactly where you weren't supposed to be. She took his hand. Deal. 6 months later, Maya stood in front of her new art school, watching children stream through doors that Alexander had helped her paint a cheerful yellow. The building had been transformed into a space of creativity and possibility, funded by a foundation they'd started together. Alexander was there too, his tie loosened and paint on his expensive shirt from helping her latest class with a mural project. "You know," Maya said, leaning against him, "if Rachel had given me the right table number that night, none of this would have happened." "Best mistake ever made," Alexander murmured, pressing a kiss to her temple. Inside, Sophie was teaching a new student how to mix colors, passing on the gift she'd received. And somewhere in Brooklyn, at a restaurant neither of them had been back to yet, Table 7 remained their lucky number, a reminder that sometimes getting lost was the only way to find exactly what you needed.